Greetings, the name is Orlac Pinser Hands. Yes, my appendages are literally pincers. Stop staring, please. After 317 cycles as an intergalactic anthropological researcher specializing in primitive species, one would think I'd be accustomed to the gawking, but no. So, you're interested in the greatest miscommunication in Galactic Commonwealth history? Excellent. Find yourself a comfortable spot, whatever constitutes seating in your culture, because this tale, as humans say, is a doozy. I'm employed by, or rather, was employed by, but we'll get to that later, PRASI, the most prestigious research academy for species integration. It's an acronym, pronounced exactly like the earth vegetable parsley, which causes endless confusion during my reports. I require more PRASI funding. You need more herbs. See what I endure? The glorious Commonwealth spans 27 galaxies, 14-dimensional planes, and boasts roughly 800 trillion sentient citizens. No exaggeration, the Commonwealth consensus, counted, and they are never mistaken, except for that one incident where they classified gas giants as very large and gassy sentients and attempted to grant them voting rights. Nobody mentions that anymore. My assignment was simple: observe Sol 3, or Earth as the natives call it, and report on its integration potential. Earth was classified as a Class D planet, technologically capable but politically unstable and potentially dangerous. My supervisor, Grand Observer Zickman, who, confidentially, couldn't observe his way out of a transparent container, insisted I document every peculiar human tradition. The Commonwealth Council requires understanding of their customs prior to official first contact, he declared, waving his sensory stalks importantly. Otherwise, we risk diplomatic incidents. If only he knew. Earth appeared unremarkable at first, a blue-green sphere, a single moon, primitive orbital technology, and billions of bipedal mammals obsessed with sharing images of their food and infant animals on rudimentary data networks. Their architecture was a hodgepodge of styles, as if an AI had been programmed with conflicting instructions. And their governance? A mess of simultaneously operating systems. Don't even get me started. I established my observation post in a region called North America, specifically in a settlement named Portland. I chose it because their information networks indicated it was weird, ensuring my occasional off-world behaviors would likely go unnoticed. Perfect camouflage, right? My disguise was flawless, a human male appearance, midlife cycle, with what they term a dad bod and a hipster beard. Research indicated this combination rendered me completely forgettable in this region. I even practiced their strange mouth-based communication until I mastered their peculiar idioms. No one suspected I was actually a seven-limbed creature with chromatophore skin and retractable eye stalks. I must stress, what transpired next was not my fault. Commonwealth Directive 7/94 explicitly states that observers must not interfere with developing civilizations. I adhered to protocol. But how was I to know that a rusty piece of metal would plunge 3 galaxies into chaos? Yes, a rusty sword, a simple, primitive cutting tool, and one clueless human who picked it up at precisely the wrong moment in front of precisely the wrong audience. Thus begins the tale of Marcus Holloway, part-time barista and aspiring fantasy novelist, who inadvertently became emperor of the 17th Quadrant, protector of the sacred timeline, and the most feared diplomatic incident in Commonwealth history. The day that changed everything commenced like any other. I was conducting my routine observation at a location humans call a thrift store, fascinating repositories where humans discard possessions for others to purchase at reduced rates. My working theory was they served as primitive resource redistribution centers. Plus, the one near my base had what the locals called killer cold brew. Whatever that means, their linguistic patterns are so violent. Marcus Holloway, 28 Earth years old, worked behind the counter. Moderately intelligent for his species, he was constantly scribbling in a notebook between serving customers. His hair was burnt cellulose-colored, eyes like dihydrogen monoxide, and he possessed what humans consider an average build, completely unremarkable, which, as the Commonwealth Observation Guide clearly states, makes for the perfect subject. "Morning, Dave," he said to me. Dave, my carefully selected Earth name. Dave Johnson. So beautifully ordinary. The usual, dumb? I nodded my disguised head appendage and performed the customary exchange of currency for stimulant liquid. Weather's strange today, isn't it? I said, deploying standard Earth conversation protocol. Yeah, Portland, am I right? Wait till this afternoon, Marcus replied while preparing my beverage. Completely normal interaction. What wasn't normal was the Commonwealth scout ship that chose that exact moment to malfunction directly above the city. Our ships are equipped with cloaking technology, usually functioning properly. This one, piloted by junior navigator Krebflux Dawn, was experiencing what we technically term a catastrophic systems failure. More colloquially, it was about to crash spectacularly. The atmospheric interference created what humans would interpret as an unusually intense thunderstorm. The electromagnetic disruption caused all Earth technology in the vicinity to temporarily deactivate. Lights out, machines down, panic ensuing. Then, as Navigator Flux Dawn desperately attempted emergency landing procedures, the ship's matter displacement field activated inadvertently. Don't ask me to explain the physics. Simply put, random objects from the ship's cargo hold began appearing in the thrift store, including the ceremonial sword of Xriel, Supreme Chancellor of the Vegas system. Xrectal had loaned this ancient artifact to the Commonwealth Museum of Historical Governance for an exhibition. It was 13,000 years old, made of a special alloy that, when exposed to Earth's atmosphere, immediately oxidized to what humans call rust. The sword materialized atop a pile of vintage clothing, looking exactly like an old prop from one of their fantasy entertainment programs. Marcus, bless his primitive mammalian brain, did what any curious human would do: he picked it up. Whoa, where'd this come from? He asked, examining the rusty blade. Cool replica. Game of Thrones, maybe? At that precise moment, the emergency lights on my Commonwealth communicator activated. My hand, shot to my pocket to silence it. Too late. 3 holographic figures projected from the device, elite Commonwealth guards assigned to protect the sacred relic. Their glowing forms, visible only to me thanks to my special contact lenses, performed the ceremonial salute. Hail, Emperor-elect, they proclaimed in my native language. The sword has chosen. Marcus, oblivious, swung the rusty blade playfully. Hey, Dave, check this out. Think it's worth anything? Oh, if he only knew. Now, here's where things get truly complicated. The Commonwealth Protocol for First Contact is 14,000 pages long. And somewhere around page 9,000, subsection Gamma 12, paragraph 47, there's a clause about respecting local customs during diplomatic emergencies. The 3 holographic Commonwealth guards, BZ-Tick, Glor, and Vexna, immediately began scanning Earth's data networks to understand human imperial traditions. This took approximately 8 seconds. The results? Catastrophically misinterpreted. The Emperor wears ceremonial headgear, announced BZ-Tick, the most enthusiastic and least intelligent of the 3. Immediately, my communicator projected a holographic crown onto Marcus' confused head. No one else could see it, but to Commonwealth monitoring systems, he now appeared properly adorned. The Emperor requires loyal subjects, declared Glor, who had evidently accessed human medieval fantasy entertainment databases. Within minutes, 17 disguised Commonwealth observers from across Portland were converging on the thrift store, abandoning their posts monitoring sewage treatment plants, fast food restaurants, and dog parks. Critical research abandoned. Meanwhile, poor Marcus was still examining the sword. The balance is terrible, he muttered, completely unaware of the intergalactic incident unfolding. But the etching is pretty cool. I attempted to intervene. Perhaps you should put that down, I suggested, trying to sound casual while frantically signaling the guards to cease their protocol. The Emperor has advisors, Vexna announced, pointing at me. This one shall be Grand Vizier. Me? Grand Vizier? My carapace would have turned bright yellow with alarm if it weren't disguised as human skin. The Emperor must make a proclamation. BZ-Tick insisted, having apparently watched too many human historical dramas during his cultural research. Marcus looked up, noticing the gathering crowd of disguised aliens entering the store. Ah, busy day all of a sudden, he commented. Then things got worse. One of our agents stationed at a local educational facility, Yark Slimepour, absolutely terrible at maintaining cover, had been teaching human younglings. He'd absorbed some very strange ideas about Earth leadership. The Emperor must tweet his ascension. Yark announced, bursting in with a communication device. The Emperor requires a royal feast of pizza and beer, added another agent who'd been observing collegiate customs. The Emperor must conduct the traditional Earth ceremony of keg stand, suggested a third, who had clearly been assigned to the wrong observation post. Marcus laughed nervously. Guys, the Renaissance Fair is next weekend. The Commonwealth Guards interpreted his laughter as the traditional acceptance of authority. Their holographic forms bowed deeply. What's with everyone today? Marcus asked me, still clutching the rusty sword. Is this some kind of flash mob? I forced my face muscles into what humans call a casual smile. Yes, exactly. A planned social gathering. How perceptive of you, Your Majesty. That slipped. That single word sealed all our fates. The Commonwealth monitoring system registered official recognition of imperial status on 17 planets. Ceremonial bells began ringing on another 42. The traditional preparatory chants for welcoming a new galactic authority figure commenced. 3 religious sects that worship imperial lineages entered states of spiritual ecstasy. And Marcus? He just raised an eyebrow and said, "Dude, whatever you're on, I want some." If only it were that simple. Remember how I mentioned that the sword of Xriel was on loan to the Commonwealth Museum? While Xriel himself wasn't particularly pleased about his sacred ancestral blade disappearing in a transport accident, especially not when the Commonwealth Central Alert System notified him that a new emperor had been recognized by his sword. Let me paint you a picture of Xriel. Imagine the most bureaucratically obsessed being in existence, with 6 eyes that never blink, skin like polished obsidian, and a temper that makes your planet's volcanic eruptions look like gentle hiccups. He'd ruled the Vegas system for 700 years through sheer force of paperwork and proper filing procedures. What do you mean, a new emperor? His voice boomed through the emergency subspace channel that suddenly opened in my communicator. Every disguised Commonwealth agent in the thrift store froze, even though humans couldn't hear the transmission. Several clutched their ears as if sensing the cosmic disturbance. Marcus, still oblivious, had begun showing the sword to a human customer. "Check out this craftsmanship," he was saying. "It's probably just deal with some clever aging technique." "The noble emperor demonstrates his weapon to his subjects," announced BZ Tick, who continued making everything worse. Xriel's holographic form emerged from my communicator, fortunately visible only to Commonwealth agents. His eye stalks quivered with rage. "I demand to see this usurper immediately." I stepped forward, attempting damage control. "Supreme Chancellor, there's been a misunderstanding. This human doesn't understand our ways." "The sword." "Silence," roared Xriel. "The coronation protocol has already begun. According to Commonwealth Regulation 5566B, once initiated, it cannot be interrupted without causing a diplomatic crisis with 47 member worlds." Did I mention that Commonwealth bureaucracy is the true ruler of us all? No? Well, now you know. Meanwhile, Marcus had placed the sword on the counter and returned to serving customers. The calm before the storm. The ritual was interrupted. "Catastrophe approaches," wailed Glor dramatically. Xriel's hologram turned a dangerous shade of pulsating crimson. "This is outrageous. I'm dispatching my personal guard fleet immediately." That's when I made a critical decision. "Your Excellency, wait. Earth has unique coronation customs. The Emperor is merely following local protocols. Interrupting now would violate the non-interference treaty of Betelgeuse. Complete fabrication, of course, but invoking the sacred non-interference treaty bought us precious time." Xriel paused, his legal advisors immediately appearing beside his hologram, frantically consulting enormous holographic tomes of Commonwealth law. "You have 24 Earth hours to complete the ceremony properly," Xriel finally hissed. "After that, I'm coming to verify this Emperor's legitimacy myself." The transmission ended abruptly. Every disguised alien in the room exhaled in relief, those of us who breathe, anyway. But our problems were just beginning. News of a new Earth Emperor spread through the Commonwealth like wildfire, or more accurately, like an instantly propagating quantum entanglement event. The diplomatic corps dispatched 12 ambassadors immediately. Trade guilds began preparing customary gifts. The royal palace construction fleet activated, preparing to build Marcus a suitable dwelling, which, according to outdated records, should be a moat-enclosed stone structure with multiple towers. And worst of all, 3 rival galactic powers with tenuous Commonwealth relations went on high alert, concerned that Earth might now receive advanced technology as a diplomatic courtesy. Back in the thrift store, Marcus was closing up for his lunch break. "Dave, you staying? You look kind of pale, man." "The Emperor addresses his vizier," announced Vexna helpfully. I needed to explain the situation to Marcus, and quickly. But how do you tell someone they've accidentally become the most important figure in galactic politics by picking up a piece of metal? "Marcus," I began carefully, "what would you say if I told you that sword is more important than you could possibly imagine?" He laughed. "I'd say you've been reading too many fantasy novels, like me." He patted his notebook. "Actually, this gives me a great idea for my story. Regular guy finds a magic sword, turns out he's secretly royalty. Classic, right?" "Right," I replied weakly. "Classic. Absolutely classic. If only he knew. The Commonwealth has accidentally enthroned 17 sentient beings throughout history, though I should note the incident with the aquatic gas giant of Epsilon Eridani was far more complicated logistically." As Marcus locked the store for his break, 47 Commonwealth agents formed a protective perimeter around the building. 3 cloaked scout ships moved into Earth orbit. And somewhere in the Vegas system, Xreedle was assembling his most intimidating diplomatic attire. The clock was ticking. I finally managed to get Marcus alone during his lunch break, sitting in a small coffee shop across from the thrift store. I watched as 3 disguised Commonwealth agents pretended to be baristas, failing spectacularly as they steamed milk with their fingers. Definitely human fingers. "Marcus," I said, leaning forward, "I need to tell you something important." "Sure, Dave." He was scribbling in his notebook again. "Just working out this plot point. So, in my story, the main character finds out he's the emperor of a hidden alien civilization. Too cliché? The universe has a terrible sense of humor about that," I replied, lowering my voice. "What if, hypothetically speaking, that rusty sword you found actually belonged to an advanced alien civilization? And what if, again, completely hypothetical, picking it up accidentally made you their emperor?" Marcus looked up, grinning. "Dude, that's literally what I'm writing right now." "Great minds, huh?" "No, Marcus, listen." I deactivated part of my disguise, allowing one eye stalk to emerge from my forehead. "This isn't hypothetical." To his credit, Marcus didn't scream. He just stared, coffee halfway to his lips, notebook forgotten. "Ha," he finally said. "That explains why you always wear hats." Not the reaction I expected. "You're surprisingly calm," I observed. He shrugged. "I've written 16 unpublished science fiction novels, Dave. I've mentally rehearsed first contact scenarios since I was 12. So, you're saying I'm accidentally an alien emperor now?" I explained everything: the Commonwealth, the sword, Xreel's ultimatum, the fact that if we didn't properly establish his imperial status within 24 hours, Earth might face a diplomatic crisis of interstellar proportions. "So, I just need to give the sword back, right?" Marcus suggested reasonably. "If only it were that simple. The coronation protocol has already initiated. According to Commonwealth law, you must be properly installed as emperor, and then you can abdicate through the proper channels. Approximately 42 forms in triplicate." Marcus took a long sip of his coffee. "Bureaucracy is universal, huh? Okay, so what do I need to do for this coronation thing?" That's when I realized this human might just be our salvation. While I'd been panicking, Marcus was adapting. He opened his notebook to a fresh page. "Let me get this straight. I need to convince a bunch of aliens that I'm worthy of being their emperor based on their understanding of Earth leadership, which they've gleaned from our media?" "Precisely. A slow smile spread across his face. Dave, or whatever your name is, I've spent 15 years running Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. I've roleplayed as kings, wizards, and gods. I've written novels about reluctant heroes taking up mantles of power. He tapped his notebook. This is literally my area of expertise. I felt my chromatophores flush with hope. You're not upset? Upset? This is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me. But we need a plan. He began writing rapidly. First, we need to understand what these aliens expect from an Earth Emperor. I activated my communicator, projecting a holographic summary of Commonwealth misconceptions about Earth leadership. Marcus studied it, occasionally laughing. They think our leaders need to tweak their dominance and perform something called a crowd surf, and demonstrate wisdom by solving a Rubik's device? Our research teams have been inconsistent in their observations, I admitted. Marcus wrote everything down, nodding thoughtfully. Okay, I can work with this. The key to any good role-playing is commitment to character. He looked up at me, eyes gleaming with determination. Dave, I'm going to give these aliens the most Earth Emperor experience possible. Get me back to the sword, and let's put on a show. As we left the coffee shop, Marcus walked with new purpose. The disguised Commonwealth agents noticed immediately, straightening to attention. The Emperor returns, whispered BZ Tick reverently. For the first time since this disaster began, I felt a glimmer of hope. Marcus might be a human with no actual claim to galactic leadership, but he had something perhaps more valuable, genre savvy. The 24-hour deadline approached faster than a quantum fluctuation. Marcus had spent the afternoon and evening performing what he called the ultimate LARP, live-action role-playing. Apparently, he had transformed the thrift store into his temporary imperial court using an assortment of mismatched furniture, holiday decorations, and a surprising amount of aluminum foil. Presentation is everything, he explained, placing a lampshade wrapped in foil atop his head. Crown check. The disguised Commonwealth agents watched in fascination as Marcus arranged his court. He assigned roles to everyone: treasury ministers, defense counsels, court gestures. He even gave one particularly confused agent a feather duster, declaring him keeper of the sacred plumage. The Emperor demonstrates great wisdom and governmental organization, declared Glor, who was now wearing 6 neck dice simultaneously because Marcus had proclaimed it the mark of high office on Earth. I remained skeptical. Marcus, Xriel is a 7-term Supreme Chancellor. He's negotiated peace treaties with silicon-based hive minds and gas cloud collectives. Do you really think this will fool him? Marcus winked. We're not trying to fool him. We're giving him exactly what he expects, an Earth Emperor. According to your reports, the Commonwealth thinks human leaders are eccentric, bombastic, and obsessed with strange customs. He wasn't wrong. As the deadline approached, the sky above Portland darkened ominously, not weather, cloaking technology. Xriedel's diplomatic fleet had arrived. My communicator vibrated violently. The Supreme Chancellor requests immediate audience with the new Emperor, announced a stern voice. Marcus straightened his foil crown. Send him in. The thrift store's front door swung open dramatically, revealing Xriedel, 7 feet of obsidian-skinned, multi-eyed bureaucratic fury draped in ceremonial sashes covered in badges of office. His 2 primary arms carried official documentation. His secondary arms clutched what appeared to be weapons. His tertiary arms were folded disapprovingly behind him. Stood 12 vegan royal guards and a small floating drone that projected holograms of 37 Commonwealth officials observing the proceedings. So, Xriedel's voice rumbled like distant thunder, this is the creature who dares claim my ancestral blade? Marcus rose from his makeshift throne, actually 3 milk crates stacked beneath a velvet curtain. He spread his arms wide, exactly as I'd seen human actors do in their historical entertainment programs. Supreme Chancellor, welcome to Earth. We are most pleased by your punctual arrival. The sacred chronometers of our world indicate you are precisely on time, which we consider the highest form of respect. Xriel's eye stalks quivered in confusion. He'd clearly expected fear or aggression, typical responses when he made dramatic entrances. I appreciate your recognition of proper scheduling, he replied cautiously. Marcus descended from his throne, the rusty sword held ceremonially before him. Every disguised Commonwealth agent held their breath. This was the moment of truth. Supreme Chancellor, Marcus began solemnly, I understand there has been confusion regarding this artifact. Allow me to demonstrate Earth's customary response. He dropped to one knee, presenting the sword to Xriel with head bowed, a perfect feudal vassal posture straight from human historical dramas. As Emperor of Earth, I recognize the Supreme Chancellor as the true owner of this sacred blade. I merely served as its temporary guardian, as is our custom when artifacts of great importance are found. The finder becomes caretaker until the rightful owner arrives. Gasps echoed through the room. Xriel's eyes widened. This is your custom, he asked, genuinely puzzled. Indeed, Marcus continued confidently. On Earth, we believe that leadership is not about possession, but stewardship. I have protected your blade, and now return it with the traditional Earth blessing. He cleared his throat and spoke gibberish that sounded vaguely like Latin mixed with Klingon. I nearly retracted my eye stalks in embarrassment, but remarkably, Xriel seemed impressed. His diplomatic advisors whispered frantically among themselves. Most fascinating, the Supreme Chancellor finally said. Your Earth customs show surprising wisdom. The Commonwealth has clearly underestimated your species' diplomatic sophistication. Marcus rose, still in character. We hope this marks the beginning of a prosperous relationship between Earth and the esteemed Vegas system. What happened next stunned every Commonwealth observer present. Xriel performed the ceremonial bow of equal recognition, a gesture reserved for those considered diplomatic equals. The Commonwealth acknowledges Emperor Marcus of Earth as a sovereign ruler and potential future ally, he announced formally. The floating drone recording the proceedings chirped in confirmation. It was official. In attempting to avoid a diplomatic incident, Marcus had accidentally secured Earth's first formal recognition by the Galactic Commonwealth. Xriel accepted his sword back with ceremonial gravity, examining the rust with surprising approval. The blade has been marked by your world's atmosphere. According to ancient tradition, this creates a bond between our civilizations. Complete nonsense, of course, but who was going to contradict him? As the Supreme Chancellor prepared to depart, he turned to Marcus one final time. The Commonwealth will be watching Earth's development with great interest, Emperor Marcus. Perhaps we shall meet again under more scheduled circumstances. Marcus bowed deeply. We would be honored, Supreme Chancellor. When the diplomatic fleet departed and the thrift store emptied of disguised agents, Marcus collapsed into a chair, exhausted but